found this story on Facebook. Country lanes in the UK are pretty narrow and have lots of blind bends. I was driving down a lane, and there was a cyclist in front of me, in the middle of the road, not wearing a helmet, and heading toward a completely blind bend. I suddenly thought, if a car swings around that bend, they are going to smash into the cyclist and pin him to my car. It was like a Final Destination vision. I couldn't hear or see another car, but I saw this accident so vividly in my mind. I immediately slammed on my brakes, honked my horn and pulled over. The poor cyclist guy shat himself and stumbled to the hedges. Mere seconds later, some idiotic teenager comes speeding out of the blind corner and missed us by inches. If we were still in the road, this guy would have plowed straight through the cyclist and into my car. I completely freaked out, to the point the cyclist came over to calm me down. I don't remember much, but I know I was saying you were dead, over and over again. I'm not a religious person at all, but that's the closest I've come to believing in some kind of divine intervention. A monster from the woods. 4 years in the area I live, there have been sightings of a monkey-like creature that is 4 foot tall and probably 300 pounds. People have described it as being anatomically built like a gorilla, but having ears like a bat or cat. They have also said that it has mange. The first sighting was in 1983 at a diner in town. It was 8 p.m. and the manager was closing up the restaurant. He heard banging at front window and went to see what was going on. Then he called the police. When the police arrived, they fired off a gun to scare it off. The creature then ran into the woods and wasn't seen again until 1991, in which the most known incident occurred. December 16, 1991, police were called at around 7:30 a.m. I got a call from a frightened woman early morning on Monday. She told me there was some kind of monkey out here attacking people, so I went out to see. And when I got there, I seen a mangled mess of a body lying in the road. She was locked in her car safely. The body was of a 17-year-old boy who had been torn apart. His upper lip and nose was gone from his face. Both hands and both feet were gone from his limbs as well. The words of Sheriff Mike Doyle of Oakland. Screams. A few years ago, I was a trainee in a local supermarket. That may not be the most important point, but I guess a bit of background information is never wrong. Well, it happened that I had an early shift and needed to be at work at 6 o'clock a.m. It was late November, so it was dark when I jumped on my bike and left. Until then, everything was pretty normal, at least until I took a turn to the right. That was when I heard a scream. The weird thing is that it kind of sounded human, but also not. It wasn't a cat in a fight. I lived all my life with cats, and I know how they sound when they scream, but it wasn't all human either. A shiver went down my spine. I remember it clearly. I went faster so I could leave this place and get somewhere safe. The next parts of my way were pretty calm, and then there was the bridge. To get to the street where the shop I worked in is located, I had to take a way under a heavy bridge. It's nothing usual and I didn't mind. But after I passed the bridge, I heard the same scream again. This time directly behind me. It felt like ice was flowing through my veins. And I quickly drove off. As I looked behind me to make sure nothing is following me and saw a strange shadow. Slightly formed as a human, but not fully. It's hard to describe. I heard the scream 3 more times until I moved. Since then the screams stopped. I never heard them again. But it still sends shivers down my spine whenever I think about it or when I drive to work. The way's almost the same, except for a few parts. Red and white. When I was a kid, between the ages of 4 and 9, a shit ton of paranormal things happened to me. This is just one. I was in 1st grade coming home from school. I was stoked for the candy cane party my teacher was going to throw at school tomorrow, where we all had to wear red and white. When I got home, I felt overwhelmingly tired. I had this strangely vivid dream where I got to school late, and my teacher informed me that we had new seats. When I got to my seat, I asked the kid next to me why he was only wearing red. He then said, "I'm wearing red and white." He pointed at his red shirt, then pointed at his face because he was white. The following morning, my dad woke up late, so I got to school late, where my teacher informed me that we had new seats. When I got to my seat, I asked the kid next to me why he was only wearing red. He then said, "I'm wearing red and white," and pointed at his red shirt, then pointed at his face. When I was little in a haunted house, when I was about 9 or so, I woke because it felt like someone shook me, and I opened my eyes and seen a family of spirits, and then seen a red spirit. The other spirits were a see-through blue, and the red one came in and shot once, and they all disappeared. I ran to my mom's room, and she called her friend who could feel the spirits, and what she said still haunts me to this day. She said, "I feel spirits in here." My mom said, "Are they bad?" She said, "Yes, they are very angry." I slept in the living room after that, and I heard cupboards shut in the kitchen. The Bart shirt. This is the most recent creepy thing that's happened to me. Definitely not the worst creepy thing that's happened to me. Boo out, this was pretty terrifying. So a few months ago, I woke up in the morning like most people do. I did the usual, brushed my teeth, made my bed, scrolled through social media a bit, then went to change my clothes. So I opened my shirt drawer and picked out a Bart Simpson shirt. The shirt was just plain dark red, almost black, with Bart on a skateboard. So far so good, right? So I sat on my bed still shirtless to check my phone for a sec. I looked back at the Bart shirt, then back at my phone, then back at the shirt, then thought to myself, hey, weren't his eyes open last time I looked? I just brushed it off, as my tired brain playing tricks on me. Then I looked again, WTF. His eyes are open now. Okay, weird that my brain did it twice, but not too strange. I looked again, and to my surprise, his eyes are closed again. WTF. So this happens like 3 more times throughout the span of like 5 minutes. And at this point I think I must be tweaking, until I finally see this shirt blink right in front of my eyes. I didn't know what to think, so I just threw the Bart shirt into my laundry basket and wore another shirt. Then continued the rest of my day. Never really thought I would catch my own shirt in 4K. Toy Story style. Can I get in your car? I live in a small town. Call it Middle Vale. It's a little bit of a dump, but it's small, quiet, and tucked away in the mountains. Most people live in Middle Vale because it is affordable, and then they commute into a big city nearby where all the jobs actually are. The main highway exit that leads to the city is a couple miles to the north of Middle Vale on a road that leads north to the next largest town, Westchester. Right there on the road to Westchester, next to those highway exits, is the local Walmart. Early one morning, I was commuting to work and stopped by that Walmart before getting on the highway. I was going to get a box of donuts to share with the office later that morning. The parking lot for the Walmart is never more than 20% full at any one time. Middle Vale is a small town, and Westchester has its own Walmart. That morning there were only 2 pickup trucks parked in the lot as I pulled up in my little car. I tend to park far away from whatever building I am going into. I don't know why I do this. I guess I just like to walk. So I pulled up into a space about 50 yards away from the Walmart entrance, even though there were practically no other vehicles around me at all. As I was pulling into the parking space, I saw a diminutive little person standing against the front wall of the building. It was still early, and the sun had not come up yet. The person was half a football field away, so I could not make them out very well. I remember seeing the small person standing over by the building. I remember looking down just long enough to make sure my car was in park. Then I remember looking up, and that person was no longer against the front of the building. She was standing just outside my passenger window. It was a she, a young woman. She was short and had short brown hair. She was standing right outside my window and kind of looking down at me. She said something to me through the glass. I am pretty sure it was, "Can I get in your car?" My instinct was to get out of my car and get in the building, where there would be other people. I did not know what this person wanted, but I knew it wasn't anything good. "Can I help you, ma'am?" I asked. But I asked this as I purposefully strode towards the building. "I need a ride to Westchester. Can I get in your car, ma'am? I'm not headed that way." "Well, I need a ride to Middle Vale. Can I get in your car?" By then, I was at the entrance. This person had kind of followed me and was now halfway between the Walmart entrance and my car. "I'm not headed that way either, ma'am," I said, and walked in through the doors. Now, I do possess some situational awareness. If this person was frightened, like they were just trying to get away from a stalker, I would have sensed that and probably asked the store manager to call the police. I did not pick up any of those vibes from this person. Also, she didn't really come across as a druggie or prostitute. She just really wanted my permission to get inside my car. I got my donuts, paid for them, and walked out. When I stepped back outside, the parking lot was completely empty except for my car and the two trucks. The sun had by then come up over the hills to the east. True ghost story. A lot of weird paranormal things happened to me and my mom's side of the family. But this is the one time I saw a ghost. So when I was about 4 or 5, I slept in a pretty tall bunk bed with my brother. We always kept the door opened when we were sleeping, just in case something happened, so my parents can hear us. Guess it came in handy this time. For some weird reasons, I always wake up in the middle of the night, the time when it's pitch black. This time, when I woke up, it didn't feel right. So I made the worst mistake in my life and looked out of the covers. To clarify, I sleep on the top bunk, which is about 7 feet tall. When I looked out the covers, I saw a man, but he looked very wrong. He was glowing green and kinda blurry. He was also wearing some Victorian era type clothing. And he was either floating or was like 10 feet tall. This man was starting straight into my soul. I screamed so loud it woke my parents and my brother. As soon as my parents walked in, the guy just faded away in front of my eyes. They told me it was a nightmare and to go back to sleep. To this day, I still wake up when it's pitch black, but now I just try to go back to sleep. And I never open my eyes. Weird crap still happens to me. Sometimes weird, sometimes cool. But I have many more unexplainable stuff, so comment if you want to hear more. Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe for more.